Hey, hello, and welcome. Oh my. Should I start again? Hey, hello, and welcome to the show, guys. Today's show is about. Let's talk about Jallikattu. For those of you who don't know what's Jallikattu, Jallikattu is an event conducted in South India using bulls. And the reason for me talking about Jallikattu today is that this event has been banned by our courts for the past 2 years, I would say 2 years. So a large amount of people, like 15 to 20,000 people, came together and then started protesting against this yesterday. And so I wanted to talk about it today. As with any state of conflict, there were two groups: people who wanted Jallikattu and people who opposed Jallikattu. So people who wanted Jallikattu were using terms like culture, yeah, native breeds, yeah. And people who were opposing Jallikattu were using terms like torture, cruelty, yeah, soldiers in the border, yeah. Wait, what? What? Okay, this might be a wrong message. Anyway, this issue got intense. This issue got so intense that I decided to do my own investigation on this. Is it investigation? Whatever. I decided to get to the bottom of this shit myself. The first thing I noticed is that a lot of people, even in South India, don't know what actually Jallikattu is. Jallikattu, all the thing about the tradition and then it's being conducted for hundreds of years, all that is true, guys. There are mentions of Jallikattu even in Kalitohai. Kalitohai is a book written back in 7th century, and it mentions Jallikattu. So it has been literally conducted for hundreds of years. And Jallikattu is much more than a sport. You might not believe it's an ancient breeding technique used by our ancestors. The thing is that it's based on a simple flight or fight response. That's what I would say. The flight or fight response is a simple concept. When you face a threat, your brain will trigger adrenaline throughout your body and then prepare it for either a fight or running away from the situation, or fleeing away from the scene. So that's what essentially happens to bulls as well. When the bulls face a large amount of people, they either run from the place or they stand their ground and then decide to fight back. The bulls which ran from the place were classified and sent to field work, whereas the bulls which stood their ground and fought against the humans, were sent for breeding purposes. So naturally, those bulls had more strength in them, more vigor in them, and so they produced more. The cows and bulls which were produced in their lineage had all those qualities in them. So when we drank the milk, those qualities were imprinted onto us as well. Speaking of milk, a lot of protesters were talking about this only. They were saying that the milk produced by these crossbreeds were not of much quality. They were belonging to the A2 class category, and then they created these diabetes diseases and a lot of diseases and all that. So I decided to do my own digging on that as well, and henceforth whatever I say is my own opinion. The first thing I'll talk about is milk. Whatever they said is true. That is, forget about the classification and all that. As I said before, bulls with more vigor and more strength were sent for breeding purposes, right? So as a result, the offsprings had these qualities naturally in them, which meant that the milk got from these bulls and cows, which were created as a lineage, was of top quality and had immunity for a lot of diseases. So when we drank that milk, we naturally we acquired all those immunizations, which made us strong and healthy. Milk has always been an indispensable part of South Indians, guys. The baby drinks the milk first when it's born, and then milk is the last drink you drink when you. Milk is the last drink you drink. Yeah, milk is the last drink you drink when you die also. So common sense shows that the milk produced by the artificial insemination or crossbreeds will never match up to the quality produced by the native breeds. In short, if I wanted to condense this entire thing and say it in short, the milk you drink today is the byproduct of evolution of thousands of years of cattle. That's what I would say. Each and every year, Jallikattu was conducted, and each and every year, the strong bulls were classified and sent for breeding purposes, which meant that the subsequent year stronger bulls were created, and the subsequent year stronger bulls were created, and so on and so on. So the bulls that exist today, the cattle that exist today as a part of this evolution process, give the finest milk, give milk of top quality that cannot be created overnight in any lab. That's what I would say. And then speaking, let's look at the points that the groups which oppose Jallikattu say. They mostly say that animals are being tortured and then cruelty is shown towards these animals and compassion and all that shit. Let me address that as well. I'll say a short story, a small story, rather small story, an interesting one probably. So long back, like 700 years back, the southern part of South India, half of Tamil Nadu, the southern half of Tamil Nadu was ruled by the Pandyan dynasty. The Pandyan dynasty is one of the oldest dynasties in the entire world, and some historians argue that it is the oldest dynasty in the entire world, but that's a different argument for another day. Anyway, let's leave that. The Pandyan rulers ruled the southern half of Tamil Nadu, and the Pandyas had one of the most organized armies in the nation. So elephant corps were literally a part of the Pandyan army, and at any given point of time they had around 5,000 to 10,000 war elephants in the army. Let's say 7,000. At any given point of time they had 7,000 war elephants in their army, and this was actually the second largest elephant corps. The Cheras had more than us. So anyway, let's leave that. They had a lot of elephants in their army, and apart from this, the Indian elephants were used for lifting heavy loads. They were used for transportation purposes as well, for moving large amount of goods. The elephants are strong and powerful guys, and they can walk through small waterways, small rivers, etc. So they can also walk long distances without taking rest. So elephants were mainly used for transportation of goods over long distances. So elephant rearing, and they were also used for construction of heavy tall buildings, for movement of stones and all that. So elephant rearing was literally practiced as a profession before 700 years. People all used to raise elephants at their homes and then train those elephants, sell the best ones to the king, and the ones that got rejected were sold to the transportation industry or the construction industry and all that. And Indian elephants, there were several hundreds of thousands of elephants in the southern half of Tamil Nadu itself, in the Pandyan territory itself. But in 2013, that is 700 years later, in 2013, when a census of elephants were taken, there were a total of 4,000 elephants in the less than 4,000 elephants in entire Tamil Nadu. So how did this happen? From hundreds of thousands of elephants to less than 4,000 elephants in just 700 years. How did this happen? The labor done by the elephants, or the prominence of elephants in human lives, became less and less gradually over time. That's what I would say. Machinery started replacing all the work done by the elephants. Transportation of goods over large distances, the British built railroads and took care of that. Automobiles are being used to transport goods and all that. So the need for elephants was eliminated in that case. Elephant corps was removed from the army literally, and so elephants became obsolete there too. So elephant rearing as a profession started dwindling gradually, and nowadays elephants are mostly found in forests and few temples. That's all. That's why this elephant population has gone down. The same thing is happening with bulls. Whatever I said now, keep that in mind, and same thing is happening with bulls now. Bulls have been an essential part of human life since the ancient ages, that's what I would say. And bulls are actually being prayed to as gods in our temples. So bulls were used for plowing the field, drawing water from wells, pulling carts as a means of transportation, and then rotating the heads of stone grinders in oil industry. And the cow dung produced, the bull cow dung produced that, the bullshit literally, that's what I would say, produced was a good manure. It had antibacterial properties and hence was used as manure in fields, and it was mixed with water and sprayed in front of houses so that insects wouldn't come in. And the dried cow dung was used to burn bodies so that the germs wouldn't escape into the environment. So yeah, bulls were an essential part of us for South Indians for thousands of years. Now slowly all the labor done by the bull is being replaced by machines. Tractors are plowing the field everywhere. Pump sets and motors are used for drawing water, and bullock carts as a means of transportation has literally vanished. And what else? Instead of cow dung, artificial fertilizers are being used. And oil industries, sunflower oil and refined oil have completely redefined. Refined oil has completely redefined the entire oil landscape of South India. So the prominence of bulls is gradually disappearing in our day-to-day lives. Jallikattu is the only thing where bulls are being used till date. So if you ban Jallikattu, the number of bulls being sent to slaughterhouses will be more, and that's why India's beef export has been rising phenomenally in the past 2 years. If you see, India is actually the number one in beef export in the entire world, for those of you who don't know that, and this is one of the primary reasons for that. So why would you want to wipe off an entire species of this planet? A species that has been with us for 6,000, 7,000 years, right? The Jallikattu has been conducted for thousands of years, and it has, as I said, it's an ancient breeding technique so that we get stronger and stronger cows and cattle and livestock, right? So if you ban Jallikattu also, the prominence of bulls in our everyday day-to-day life vanishes. Thereby, uh, bulls will literally be wiped off the planet in a few years if there is no need for them, right? And the funnier thing to this story, to this whole situation, is that the people who are opposing the ban, people who are opposing the Jallikattu event, they call the people who support the Jallikattu event as illiterate and uneducated and all that. I honestly don't know what to say. If we can't advance as a society, and if we don't cohabitate with the plants, animals, and nature, then what's the point of education? I don't know. I honestly don't know. Anyway, that's what today's video was about, guys. Hope this was helpful to you in some way and you learned something from it today. If you would like to learn more about this Jallikattu process and the ancient cattle breeds of India, this guy, his name is Karthikeyan. He runs the Cattle Research Institute here in Tamil Nadu, and you may very well contact him. I'll provide his contact details below. So yeah, guys, that's what I wanted to talk to you guys today. See you in tomorrow's video. Peace.